Welcome everyone to the Dragmaister Studios' second podcast. I am Hamish, your lead programmer. With me we have Dragmaister, our director of operations, and Zach, our head designer.
Good time of day to everyone.
Good time. Man, you ain't freaking British.
And we are going to be talking about probably the most exciting bit of news that we've released in a while, which is our announcement of a playable demo.
Yeah, and we have been waiting for being able to announce that for quite a while now.
It's longer than you probably would imagine. Like, we've started thinking about this whole idea like almost a year ago, and we've been kind of working on it ever since.
Was there the fable statement in Crystal Fair that we're going to have a playable demo out by this Christmas of 2014?
Well, no. It was just, we're going to have a demo at some time in the future.
No, we did mention Christmas.
It was a specific date that we were going to have a fully playable Stable 2 by Christmas 2014.
Well,
that
why didn't
happen.
you guys work on it then?
Well, you know full well why that was, and that was because it was a ridiculous deadline that we had absolutely no way of keeping.
Well, maybe for you guys, but if you guys were half as good as me.
Ooh.
Well, evidently, because we didn't manage it, not even close. To put it into perspective, we would...
Now announced, the game will be released at Christmas 2015!
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as a rough estimate, if we had to do a fully working Stable 2, when do you think when do you think we'd get it done by?
Stable 2,
Yeah.
It's a little bit off into the future. We still have all those assets to make.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, it would probably end up being the end of next year, I would say.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Maybe something like that, yeah.
Yeah, if we were very lucky, we might be able to do it by end of next summer, but that will be incredibly lucky. Partially because we have switched focus on more combat-oriented stuff and to get actual gameplay elements working rather than any quests or anything of the like.
Yeah, just as a disclaimer, don't hold us to any of these. These are just us thinking about things. We make no promises about releasing anything.
There is no point in saying that because there's always going to be that guy that's sitting there you said in this one video 4 years ago, whenever you first started this project, that you were going to have a demo out a month ago. So where is it? I want my game. Come on, guys.
Well, yeah, I think the great thing about this announcement is that we have to have a playable demo for the cons. And if we don't have it, then our credibility is ruined forever. As in, we would just be finished.
Yeah, people would be showing up at our arbitrary doors with pitchforks and
but it's not. But it's like,
plushies.
we would have our panel, our booth at BronyCon, and our thing at GalaCon with no demo, and it would just be... Oh God, I would just have nightmares about that.
Well, we'll be sitting there, and we'll be able to entertain people with our amazing personalities.
Oh yeah, totally. That would work for about 5 minutes, I think.
I can see how much you have faith in our team. Either way, the current idea is to have different demos focused on very specific things, such as this one being focused on combat. And the next demo that we will eventually have out, there's no real time whenever, planned, BronyCon 2016. We're going to have, a sort of quest demo, one that focuses on the actual mechanics of questing, the, talking to characters, probably have stuff like the speech challenges and so on and so forth.
That would probably be Stable 2.
Oh yeah,
because that's the most obvious place to do it.
Yeah, and then after that's maybe something like sneaking or advanced mechanics or something. We'll get to that eventually because that's pretty far off.
So a lot of people have been curious about the sort of release timeline and the schedule for the different versions of the demos. So I'll probably say this outright: the first demo that's going to be available for anyone to play is going to be exclusively at BronyCon 2015, which is, I believe, August 7th to the 9th. Yeah. If anyone still wants to rush there and buy some tickets just to get access to our demo, which they are more than welcome to do.
Which you totally should do.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes,
Um,
just make sure you spend all of your money on the BronyCon cards. Like we totally aren't getting endorsed by BronyCon. Just buy all the stuff.
and the people there will be sort of our first wave of beta testers, you could call them, because we are going to wait for a sort of couple of weeks after that in order to release the sort of the second wave of it to the BronyCon attendees, and they'll be our sort of second wave of beta testers after we've fixed the most glaring and obvious bugs, which people will undoubtedly find.
Yeah, since at the BronyCon, like, people will have very limited time to actually play it, so we will only mostly like learn about like very immediate bugs and things like that. But when we release the second version for the attendees to play at their home, they have more time to work on it, and we get some more feedback from that. And that allows
We'll
us
also be having a final polished version that's going to be public, like,
to absolutely everyone.
yeah, it's going to be a while because we're going to be using all of the feedback that we get from the closed beta that we'll be releasing in order to fix as many issues as we possibly can, as well as add in a bunch of new stuff to the demo itself, just simply because of the fact that currently we have how many testers? About like 3 or 4, correct?
About half a dozen,
Yeah.
something like that.
And I mean that is a good way of getting most of the very, very, very obvious bugs. The ones that, like, you will start up the game and immediately find out that Little Pip is upside down with her hoof through her stomach for some reason. Those really
one would
glaring.
think that some of the programmers in the room might have noticed that.
Yeah, and then then the sort of con fixes, those are going to be the ones that they simply couldn't have found because they didn't have the time or they didn't do like whatever it is that the people at the con did. And then the absolute final one will be after that, which will have proper time of fixing it. And because we've did the whole closed release to the people that sort of get the code or whatever, however we eventually release it, that one is going to be to test it on multiple systems because it's very difficult to bug test something on just one computer or even just 4 computers, because with varying different computers and different hardware and so on and so forth, you get a different degree of issues and errors that you wouldn't normally see on other computers and so on. So with the closed beta, we will be able to see those sort of like more glaring issues that will present themselves under certain situations and so on and so forth. And hopefully it will get rid of the problems that most people would have whenever we release it for the finished one. That being said, it's very unlikely that the game will be bug-free.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at Skyrim's games. They aren't even bug-free, and they've been around for how long?
Well, to be honest, Bethesda are some of the worst programmers I've ever seen when it comes to bugs. I mean, there are bugs that I could fix just by looking through the game files. But Zach does bring up a good point. I mean, in theory, there should be no problems with running things from one system to another. But in practice, you're going to get these sorts of issues. Just today, in fact, one of our programmers loaded up Unity to find out that it just wouldn't work because of the way in which we're rendering things. In one of our systems decided to not work with his computer. So we need a sort of a wider beta group in order to sort of find these issues and find these sort of incompatibilities with different systems, which we don't notice because they shouldn't be there, but they are going to be there. So
to be more accurate, it's more technically pre-alpha than a beta. We are nowhere close to actual beta. For those who are listening and like are paying attention to the actual words used.
Yeah, because of course well, I mean, you're quite right. I mean, every single word that we say here is going to be incredibly sort of scrutinized and twisted and sort of
And you know who
you are.
Yeah, but that actually like brings us to one question that we had for the podcast, which is like, do we know what will be the minimum specs for running the demo? And yeah, for pretty much for the same reasons that like we want to do the separate bug fix build that everyone can download, because like we don't have access to that many computers and we haven't had much time to do any real benchmarking, so we just simply don't have any idea on like the actual minimum specs. So
yeah, the sort of feedback like, oh, I've got a Radeon 6950X or whatever, and it runs terribly. Then that sort of information is really useful to us, because then we can look at different GPUs and different system configurations and actually work out how it's going to run. Because we aren't just using Unity standard renderer, of course, we're using an entirely new system, so we don't know.
Which, interestingly enough, I actually just finished rebuilding my computer from scratch, actually, pretty much just for this demo, and so that I can run things. But that's that's obviously the lesser extent.
I mean, this isn't to imply that you're going to need a 980.
Yeah, it's a 980.
Yeah, this isn't to imply that you need a 980 in order to run our game. In fact, we really hope that that's not the case, considering that I have a much worse graphics card. But you will need something reasonably modern, because it requires DirectX 11. So you'll need a card which is no more than sort of 3 years old, at least. And sort of obviously reasonable CPU and reasonable amounts of RAM, sort of 4 gig and up RAM to go with that.
4 gig might be a little bit on the very bare minimum, but yeah.
Well, I've got 8 gig and it's plenty. I mean, the current RAM usage is well under 4 gig, but obviously in terms of
I guess for the demo, but I mean, one thing to remember for these things is even if we do release a sort of this is what you need in order to run the game, like for the public release, it is in no way close to being what will be required for the final game, because the simple fact is that currently our programmers are still working on making a completely new. Well, yeah, the framework and even the final graphics aren't even done yet. We have a guy who is currently working on things such as the lighting system and so on and so forth.
Ambient occlusion and global illumination and
all those sort of fancy little effects that you see in modern games. He's pretty much making a system completely for scratch. Admittedly, not just for us. It's not. He's not alone, and it's not specifically for us. He is planning on selling it for other people out there that might want to make a game and have a little bit more advanced system.
Yeah, but for more information from that, like you can refer to one of our older blog posts about the rendering path.
And we've got a really nice video on YouTube, which probably anyone who's watching this has undoubtedly seen, which is some nice 60 FPS animations.
Yeah, so like whenever we actually get the final game out, it is going to be vastly different. I mean, for one, I very highly doubt that you're going to require 4 gigs to run this game whenever it's in its final stages. There's going to be a lot of shit going on and a lot of things that the game needs to worry about. Yeah. And having 4 gigabytes of RAM, it more than likely isn't going to be enough.
Yeah, considering the open world format of the game and whatnot, like sometimes where we don't know.
To be honest, we'll just need to see, because it could take an entirely sort of different turn.
Now announcing, you need a GTX 980 plus 34 gigabytes of video RAM and computer memory plus.
Or we could just do what was it? Do what was it? Shadow of Mordor, that said you require 6 gigs of VRAM, and there was only one card that had 6 gigs of VRAM.
You have no idea how utterly annoying that was to me. I was buying this brand new card and like, oh man, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I can't even fucking max out this game. Man, this thing's a piece of crap. I'm just gonna throw this thing away. And
then what Warner Brothers did, which was say that their minimum specs for Arkham Knight was a 970.
Well, I have a 980, so those guys can go suck a dick.
Just,
Yeah, but in other like news, like something that should probably be cleared out from before is that like we mentioned about the whole like the first revision of the demo that the all the attendees will be able to get, that like you will be able to get the code just by coming to our booth and asking for it. You do not need to actually play it on the site. to actually get it or need to buy anything. You can just get it by asking from us.
It's also very possible that we might just be walking around randomly. It's like, hey, you want this? Yeah, you want it. Yeah, you.
Yeah,
like
we'll
it.
just be giving them out like sort of, like free candy sort of thing.
Yeah.
Essentially.
You want a game? Just get into my van and I'll show you a game.
Yeah, we can play
All night long.
But yes, of course, you can only do that if you come to BronyCon. So yes, if you haven't already bought your ticket, do so now immediately.
Also, make sure you get the Diamond Pass, which is like $2,000. Just make sure you get that. You can't truly experience BronyCon without your Diamond Pass.
Pretty sure they have already sold out everything but the basic passes.
I'm sure if you offer enough sexual favors, they will give you one.
No comment about that.
I was going to say money, but of course.
Well, some people prefer different things. Let's not judge.
Yeah, you can't judge people, Hamish. That's just rude.
Evidently not. We should also talk about the other activities that are going to be going on at our booth.
Well, for one, we're going to be selling posters, which, as long as Drag actually remembers to do it, we should have a little slideshow on the below the video or above the video. I don't know where it's going to be. That will have all of our posters. We've actually finished a couple posters that weren't shown in the previous post. Couple of them are actually made by me. You should go check out my DA.
Yeah, total amount of posters we will be selling is 8 different designs.
Yeah. And they're all.
And we would very much like it if people bought them. That would be great.
You aren't required. I'll point that out.
It's not required to in order to play the game. You're not required to buy anything to get a download code or anything like that. If you like a poster, it's a pretty cool like Fallout Equestria type poster that obviously you can see them and they're pretty high quality as well. So yeah,
pretty high quality. But
actually, I should point out I haven't seen them, but I presume they're pretty high quality.
Wait, you've never seen them?
No, I've not seen like the actual printed ones. I mean, obviously the designs are of the highest quality. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Either way, that actually goes into another question that people probably have been asking: is the actual legality of selling posters?
Yeah, and of course, what are you going to do with all that fat stacks that you're getting from these posters?
Yes. For one thing, it's completely legal. I mean, I know that we said before that we are only legal as long as we are completely non-profit. However, this sort of goes into its own little loophole of the system that, yeah, we are technically selling posters. Yeah, they are technically from this project. And yeah, they technically relate to this project. But on the other hand, they are just posters. They don't relate to either IP, and we've put significant effort into making sure that they don't actually have anything that links them very obviously to either the Fallout brand or the My Little Pony brand. And the you'll notice that they have no logos from either of them. You'll notice that they don't even mention that they don't have any characters or anything like that from them. And that is simply to make sure that we remain completely legal. You can't exactly complain about some guy selling a poster that doesn't even have your logo or even say anything about your product on it. He's just selling a poster.
Yeah, exactly. It's two entirely unrelated enterprises, one of which is non-profit and one of which is selling some posters.
And for those of you that might get a little bit confused by that, you can't technically have a any sort of trademark or copyright on any particular art style or character, design of characters or anything like that. You can only have specific trademarks on a sort of.
It's like a specific character design. You can copyright a specific character design. You can't copyright a style.
I would say the character itself, but yeah.
Yeah, as in you can copyright a purple pony with this cutie mark and this hairstyle called Twilight Sparkle. but you can't copyright the show style of My Little Pony. You know.
On the other hand, people can they can argue that if it's almost exactly like the show style, they can argue that you are infringing on their product simply because
and they would unsuccessfully argue that because you can't copyright a style of things, and not in any legal system that I know of.
You can copyright the style, but you can't just in large cases, like you could argue that them selling their product is no, it's not
infringing
it's not necessarily infringing. It's more that like because you are selling so similar product, you are like negatively influencing their profits and like their.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter if you're not using any of their IP though. You still have to use their intellectual property, and an art style is not intellectual property.
Honestly, it comes down to the fact that whenever you get into that sort of stuff, it becomes a very gray area. At large and technically, and on the outside, no, they can't do that, and it shouldn't happen. But people will try to do it, and most large companies will try to do it.
And just to wrap this up and like make something clear, like we should point out that like none of our posters or designs like are using the show style.
Yeah, not even close. Each artist has their own very specific style that they used for them while still maintaining a like our
the style of the like time and universe that we are like the universe is at.
Yeah,
but still, as a sort of question to the viewers, if anyone can find any legal precedent for whether an art style can be considered copyrightable intellectual property, please post a comment and we will read it. And I'll be very interested to know if that's
even though it has no real relevance to our project.
It has no bearing on it. I'm simply just curious if anyone knows the law better than I do. I mean, I've got a passing interest, but that's about it.
Yeah, moving on to the next thing, though, like what we're actually going to do with the money. First and foremost, none of the money is going to any specific team member at all. Like, it's not going to even touch our wallets. The money is specific. Well, it actually technically
it kind of has to.
Yeah. Technically, it will.
None of us are using it for any of our personal expenses. Like,
exactly.
For us who are like traveling to BronyCon, like we are not using any of the money to cover our travel expenses or anything like that.
The money is only going to things that are pretty much required for them to happen, and they completely relate to the team. For example. Drag, you spent nearly like $300 on just buying the the booth. But yeah, you spent about $300 on the actual booth itself. That would actually be something that would cover because we kind of require that to be able to do any of the things that we plan on doing. So that would be an expense that the money would cover. Other things that it would cover would be things like the actual expenses for the poster, which, I mean, yeah, technically we're spending money to make money to save money, but
but I mean, it's a fair point. We need to make the money back which we originally spent.
Yeah, and not to mention the excess cash that we'll have will be going to things that are constantly a drain on people's wallets, such as the server costs, which actually add up quite a bit. And then there are also things such as add-ons to the game that we might buy from Unity Store, many of which are relatively cheap, at least cheaper than most people probably would imagine. But anyone that has ever been part of a Steam sale knows that even if something only costs $5, that $5 can turn into $500 very quickly.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's more of a case that stuff that you think is going to be expensive is cheap or free, and stuff that you think is going to be, it should be cheap, costs like $500 or something like that.
Or it will just add up from the like, it individually doesn't cost anything, but then you buy 100 of them and suddenly...
we actually did the math one time when we found a pack that gave us quite a few amazing particle effects that we're currently planning on using for the game, simply because we unfortunately don't have any particle effect artists on the team, and
Yeah.
quite frankly, they're something of a commodity. You don't really just come across someone that specializes in particle effects.
Yeah, we will likely like modify them to suit better our needs, but we will at least use them as a base and reference, if nothing else.
Yeah, but going back to what I was saying, like, we found this pack that had the particle effects, and just to kind of justify it to himself, Drag here found out that individually it was about, I think it was like 5 cents per particle effects, yet the packets, or okay, maybe not 5 cents, but it was like something it was below $1 or something like that for the particle effects, and the thing itself was like $50 to $100. So you got lots of particle effects, and most likely we're not going to even use like half of them. But on the other hand, they are very cheap individually, technically.
But one thing we should probably stress is that we aren't going to be buying, like assets in the sense that, environment stuff, or, like buildings. And we're not like, the people who Jim Sterling constantly does videos about, where you get randomly sort of pre-packaged assets put into games, and it's like, oh, this is a game and this is $15 now on Steam. We're not going to be doing that by any stretch.
Mostly we are using it for things that we don't have like our own people to do it at this time, and we need placeholders, or we just want to see how they have been done, or like use as a reference, like I mentioned before.
Finding people who can do particle effects, as you mentioned, we have no one who could really do that.
Which if any one of the listeners, if are like proficient at doing particle effects, like feel free to shoot us an email.
Another good example is actually weapon sounds, because it's very, very, very difficult to find completely free weapon sounds. I mean, there are those very rare unicorns that you find sometimes in the woods underneath a leprechaun, and maybe some some really good pizza maybe. But like those are very rare, and you almost never come across them. And like this money would go towards actually getting them. And before anyone actually pops on, 'cause I'm sure that there's going to be someone that says it. I mean, just owning a weapon and like recording the sound is not, unfortunately, good enough. Like it's very difficult to properly record weapon sounds. The type of microphone that you need a really specific setup, because it's so loud that
not to mention you will need to basically do it in a desert where there is no echo or anything of the like to get it properly.
Or you would need to do it in a very nice weapons range, depending on whether or not you're trying to record for indoor noises or outdoors.
Yeah, well, you need to do both. That's the thing. You need to do an outdoor one in a desert, and then an indoor one in like a sound booth, essentially.
Yeah, either way, the point is that things like that are incredibly difficult to get for free. I mean, you can get packs, and most of them are actually very expensive because the only people that make them are specialists. So they, of course, are...
Yeah, the sound libraries are very expensive, like the good quality ones, as I'm sure any of the possible sound engineers or the listening will know.
And this money would go towards possibly getting proper weapon sounds, ones that actually sound really good. That's not to say that the ones that our current lead sound designer actually found, I mean, they are pretty good, but on the other hand, even he said that, some of them are just placeholders, and eventually he would like to get better versions or whatnot after he went through and found some more, got the money to actually buy some better ones. Plus, we've only shown off so many weapons. We're going to have plenty more to come, so getting more sounds to vary up the differences is kind of important.
The common theme here, as you probably realize, is that this is all stuff that we can't reasonably do ourselves. And that's the thing. We're not planning on buying a game and just making that available. It's still our own sort of product.
Nor are we requiring you to actually spend money to get the game. The game will still be free. This is just a sort of, it's just a way that we can get money by also giving you something that you might like and enjoy. On the other hand, another thing that this money is going to be going towards is actually getting more things that you could potentially buy. I mean, if you don't like these posters, we plan on either next year or possibly even sooner or whenever we get a chance to have more options on posters and possibly even things like t-shirts, maybe a nice little mug. I think I seen a selfie stick that you could
let's not go
customize as
there.
well.
But yeah.
There's been a lot of people saying, "Oh, how can I support you guys? Here, have my money," all this sort of thing. Well, this is the way in which you can support us, by buying things and by us giving you something nice for your money, and not just us taking
That being
it.
said, if you come to our booth and say like here is money for the project, like we can't accept that. Because the project itself and the game itself will be like said, it's completely non-profit. You will never need to pay anything for that, and we will accept no money for it. That being said, if you want to treat us to a nice dinner or something, like feel free. I like eating.
Yeah, we're not politicians. We accept dinner. Dinner doesn't count as profit.
Yeah, as it will not benefit the project really at all.
I should just going on what Hamish said. If you do give us money, and like again, we technically need to give you a poster, but what you do with that poster is completely up to you. For all we care, you could rip it up in front of us.
Yeah,
We'll
they're very nice posters.
Don't do that though, because that would
really
kind of
nice
look really
posters.
bad.
Honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll thank you for the money and all that, but it's still kind of a dick move.
And like, why
Don't
would you
be
rip a
that
nice
guy.
poster to begin with?
Yeah, that would just be wasteful.
Yeah, there's a tree out there that was murdered and mutilated for your viewing pleasure.
Well, in all honesty, it's probably a tree in Norway or something like that, a spruce or pine or one of these trees which
Hey,
grows very
we got
quickly,
plenty
but
of
still.
fucking trees here in PA, I can assure you that. By the way, I live in Pennsylvania, if anyone wants to know. Don't
Go
stalk
stalk
me.
him.
Well, states in the US are the size of the size of countries in the rest of the world, so that's not really too much of a narrow field there.
It is for us Americans. We need our space. As for the actual downloading process for the demo,
There will be the first revision. You will be able to get a download code from our booth at BronyCon that you will be able to use at the linked URL, and to be able to at first, because it's not available to immediately, it will give you an option to add yourself to an email list, and we will email you once it's available to download, or you can simply check in later and download it there when it's available by using the code.
Is it going to be a general download code, or is it going to be?
Let's keep that as a surprise.
Oh, okay, I see.
That being said, regardless how we do, I'm certain there will be people who will spread it around regardless. But
Bastards.
For something we do not officially support that, and honestly, we would like that you didn't do it if you can avoid it, because, like said, we would like to actually fix it some more before we give it to everyone to download. So yeah, it will just give a better presentation of the product if you avoid doing that.
to be fair, let's not forget that people were actually pirating Friendship is Magic back whenever it was actually still legal, so...
Fighting is magic, you mean?
Friendship is...
Yeah.
No, well, technically, they were still doing it for Friendship
They were
is Magic.
fighting Friendship is magic, but they were fighting is magic, yeah. But yeah, that was the beta build at first, and then of course fighting is magic for all intents and purposes shut down, and then they have the what do they call it? It's the something edition. That was made by different.
That
was based on the leaked build, but then released generally later on. It's the something edition of completely forgotten.
Yeah, but regardless,
and that actually works. It works on online play and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to support the project, please don't spread the download code and/or build around.
If you do spread it around and all that, there's nothing that we can do to stop you, but you're still a dick. Don't be a dick.
If we find a link on Mediafire and we see the number of times it's downloaded, for each time it's been downloaded, we delay the next demo by a minute. Think about
I would say an hour.
Okay, even more. Yeah, an hour. We delay it by that's 60 times more than I suggested. I mean, I was going to be lenient, but these guys are harsh. So listen.
I was gonna say a day.
Well, there you go, guys. So don't do it, because who knows how far it could go. It could be a year next time. Next time you.
Every time you download it, it's a year.
Delayed by a year.
What's that? It was downloaded 1,000 times.
Well, then pack up, guys. No more game. No,
we'll still work on it. It's just in 1,000 years it will be released. They'll be releasing the Xbox 3,060,000,000 Ultimate Halo Edition.
Oh, they'll be calling it the Xbox One again, won't they?
Yeah, we just put it in a bank in Switzerland or something like a vault and tell them like
timed vault not to be opened until the year 3014.
Yeah, after that anyone can get access to it, but not until that. But as for there was also another question about will there be any recordings of the con demo posted on YouTube. We will try to do that, and we will try to record as much as we can about people playing it on the side, but we have no defined date or timeline on that.
Not to mention, just to point out, it's not gonna be the entire demo. I mean, the actual vendor hall is open for 8 hours a day, so that's 8 hours for 3 days. Needless to say, we're not gonna release a video that is that long. It's just
24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I know there are videos that are on YouTube that are that long, but we're not gonna be those guys. That's just come on, man.
That goes on the crazy scale.
Yeah.
That being said, if you do the quality demo through the download code or afterwards when it's probably public, you are more than free and record your own let's plays or whatever, just all the bugs you found.
Make sure you send them all to Drag's personal email address. Actually, no, just send them over Skype to him.
I hate you.
His name is Dragmaister. Just send them all to him through Skype.
Well, that's the thing. If anyone actually wanted to find us on Skype, it would be very easy for them to do so. Because it's just our names.
To be fair, I've been actually wondering if people have been doing that, and I've just been denying their requests, because a lot of them seem like spam.
Well, it's what is it, Sunshine15, and it's like a bot who pretends to be a girl and then says, "Oh, watch me on camera here at this website, just need a credit card detail."
Credit card detail, your home address, and the credit card details of all of your closest relatives.
But I get so many of those. But I feel like what if this one is a real person and I've just been a complete asshole and just been deny? I always think that in the back of my mind.
Hey, missed the element of kindness, everyone.
But yeah, what the fuck were we talking about?
We're talking about
the recordings of the demo.
Recordings of the demo.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the recordings is just yeah.
Yeah, we will upload them when we are reasonably able to do so, and when you get to play it on your computers, you're more than welcome to upload you playing it anywhere.
And you can monetize them, etc., and you can do all that.
But if you do find bugs and so on, and you record them, please send a link to us so we can actually take a look and possibly fix it for the future.
Yeah.
Remember, your opinion does not matter unless you actually tell us your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And like, even if you are not able to record it because of your hardware or whatever, you're still like welcome to send us email, and we'll most likely put up a proper feedback form somewhere on the website as well.
Which actually, going into what you can expect in the demo, just to give you a little bit of, I guess, a teaser into it. First of all of the spells that we actually detail, well, okay, maybe not all of the spells, but most of the spells that we detailed in the our first spells blog post
a while back
will be in there. Yeah, will be in there. We're planning on having the shield spell, telekinesis, the
magic missile.
Yeah, magic missile, the little laser upgrade for it. I don't think we're having the light spell simply because it's not really useful.
Also regeneration, I think.
Yeah, I think we're also having regeneration, which I don't think we actually.
Because that's really easy.
Well, actually, we didn't even detail that one up. For the record, regeneration is just it's a healing spell. It's the base healing spell.
It's a pretty new and unique.
Not really, but
That was a joke.
I can't always tell with
Like
Hamish.
I could figure that out right away, but you were like,
It's
no,
Hamish.
we need to be serious
Hamish,
here.
he never jokes.
What? I never joke.
Well, he's starting to come out of his shell, and you're ruining it.
Fine, play on me. But yeah, in any case, another things you can expect from it is a somewhat expensive selection of weapons for like the first build. I think we have like a half a dozen melee weapons and another half a dozen firearms. It will be the same firearms that you saw in one of the.
Actually, there's going to be a couple new ones.
I was getting into that. Like all the firearms you saw in like our combat video a short while back, as well as like I think assault rifle was at least added. I can't remember if any new other firearms were. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. Off the top of I can check.
Well, there's the ultra mega super mini nuke minigun. We that's in there. You just gotta look for it. It's really well hidden. It's a little bit overpowered, so we hit it. So you guys just gotta kind of look for it in order to find it.
Were we gonna have the grenade?
Most likely not.
Or maybe in the, not. I don't think it for the con demo, but for one of the later versions, we'll have a grenade.
One of the later versions.
In terms of melee weapons, I'm just reading from the list. We've got a baseball bat, 2 types of knives, lead pipe, a rake. Yes, you can have a rake. It's quite big. A security baton and a shovel.
Well, don't forget the best weapon of all, the plunger.
Oh, the plunger. Oh, do you remember that idea that someone had? What was it? Dynamic plungers. Do you remember that?
That was Prowler.
Yeah.
I know that. I don't even have to think about it. It was Prowler.
Oh, I think we should add some reference to that. We should make that like a little bit of a thing, or add some reference to it.
We're just going to make upgrades for it where you can just strap some C4 onto the plunger and use it as a throwing grenade.
Well, I think just the plunger should have a substantially bigger upgrade path than any other weapon for no particular reason.
And at the very end, it's going to be the best weapon in the game.
Oh, the best melee weapon. Also,
no, the last attachment is like adding a mini nuke launcher to it, or Bellfire launcher.
And it will have an attack speed of like 9,000 per second.
Well, it should just have depending on how our crafting goes, it should be sort of substantially better than it's like normally found.
Well, here's a question that I actually brought up whenever me and Drag first watched the Fallout 4 video. Is at what point do you have a new weapon? Because in the video they showed that you could completely replace the baseball bat. So if you can do that, like let's say with our plunger, you replace the shaft and the little head on it. It's not the plunger anymore. Why did you even do that? You have a completely new plunger. You could have made that to begin with and still kept the old plunger.
Well, exactly. That's an interesting sort of philosophical debate there, isn't it? If you gradually replace the parts in some object, then at what point does it become a new object?
Whenever you replace all of the parts.
Something we will maybe cover never in the future blog posts. But yeah.
Well, the Overmare Studios debates philosophy.
Hey, if you want us to debate philosophy...
Oh, yeah, leave a comment just telling us if you want us to debate philosophy.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Since you mentioned it, just to say it in a brief couple sentences, like, we have obviously seen the Fallout 4, everything that has come out of it, and...
Wait, there's a new Fallout?
4, like, trailers.
This is the first I've heard of this.
No.
There's a trailer?
No.
No? Well,
because I wanted to get you excited and then crush your dreams.
Oh.
Man, you're that one guy that created the website. I can already tell. Hamish is sad now. He's just gonna go and kill himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, he's just gonna slice his wrist with a broken Fallout 3 disc.
When it is released, you can expect to hear nothing from us for a couple of weeks. Everyone is suddenly on sick holidays.
I've already reserved some time at my job to make sure that I have time to play. Like I got like 2 days off for that day, so I'm yeah.
To move on, like something that we didn't cover yet, like much, is that obviously we will be going to not only BronyCon but also Galacon and Dragmaister this year as well.
I'm actually not going to be there though.
And at GalaCon, we actually have a panel. So you'll actually be able to hear all of us speak. I won't be going to BronyCon because I'm poor. Well, I'm actually not poor, but I'm just really tight. And also I've got work and stuff. But I will be at GalaCon, as will everyone else here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
well, no, I'm not going to GalaCon. I can't.
Zach isn't going to be there. I'm going to be Zach's replacement at GalaCon, essentially.
Or Jack is your replacement for BronyCon, whichever way you want it.
Yeah.
But,
depending on how important you think.
But yeah, like I said, like at Galacon we are gonna have a panel. Like we won't have the demo there because of issues with hardware and like getting it set up and everything in them.
Essentially, there's no one we know of who has a powerful enough computer to be able to run it.
Only one is
properly.
like one of
at least as a demo.
One of our programmers is there and he might have a computer, but he's, as far as I know, like presenting his own VR demos and stuff with his. So yeah, and then for Dragmaister we also have a panel, and there we will also have the playable demo as well. So that
because our music lead has many computers with many good graphics cards, I believe. Was it 2 Titans he had last time, something like that? So yeah, might just be able to run it. I don't know. 2
just
Titans, barely.
But yeah, so like we will look forward to seeing you in there as well, like in either of those, and if you even outside of like in BronyCon, outside of our booth and like at Galacon and Dragmaister at the panels and whatnot, like feel free to, like if you see us walking anywhere and you recognize us, like feel free to come and talk to us.
Oh, totally. Yeah, we're very vain. We love to be told how fantastic we are and how great Ford Equestria and the game is, all this sort of stuff. So please do that.
Yeah, and if you disagree and you think we suck and whatnot, you can still come to tell us, but we will most likely disagree with you.
Yes, profusely and verbally. So beware.
Silently, most likely, but yes.
Well, should we answer possibly like a couple of the questions that were asked on the forums that actually are, other than the one question that actually they're actually good questions. You know what? I can answer a bunch of these in like 5 seconds.
What's the one question?
You know what the question is.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You know the question.
I don't. Seriously.
Just wait.
Anyways, here. I can literally answer a bunch of these questions right now. Can you have more than one companion? If so, what is the max? If not, how will switching them work? We already answered this. You'll be able to have 2, and you can switch them by asking them. They're very social. Can you get Pyrolat as a companion? Yes. Will you be recording? So that one. Will there be any enemies that appear in the original fanfic that will not be featured in the game? Not that we know of. How will you handle events from the canon story, such as train rides?
Pending.
Honestly, we have...
Decision pending on most of them.
Yeah, we have no idea on that yet.
Yeah.
It's still... What are those little meters in the lower left-hand corner of the screen on the HUD labeled HTS? That actually relates to hardcore. Yes, we're going to have hardcore, which we've actually announced before. Those relate to hunger, thirst, and sleep. Can you crush an alicorn with train cars? No. Can you levitate yourself? No. It has been mentioned that a cannon run through in the game will be possible, so the obvious question is how accurate will you be able to run, or will that run be to the original fanfic, assuming you can make no mistakes in attempting to make that run? Honestly, it's going to be kind of close, but there are very large differences in a completely written story medium and a very visual game medium. So there is going to be...
Yeah, we have. I think we have covered this like in the past blog post as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going through the list real quick.
It should be pretty damn accurate, but people in Anorax will undoubtedly find many things wrong
Yeah, we
with
will
it.
do our best to stay faithful for it, but also to make it actually work in the playable interactive medium that we are working in.
Yeah.
Can you use telekinesis while your weapon is unholstered? Yes. How big will the map be? I know it's kind of lame. That the map will be however big we make it. You're giving us this minimum specs. The Wild Wasteland perk is still pending. We're not exactly sure if we're going to have it or just include that stuff in the base game. I will say that you will not, don't even remotely expect to see things like Doctor Who references or references to other stories, even ones that don't relate to Fallout Equestria. They won't be in the game. And if they are in the game, they're going to be very subtle. You cannot expect to have a giant factory called the Rainbow Factory and have Rainbow Dash working.
20% cooler everywhere all the time. That's not.
Yeah, that's not going to be in there. And honestly, why that's not going to be in there is an entire discussion for itself. But it's not going to be there. You can be sure of that.
I think a lot of people will be relieved, and a lot of people will hate us for that. And there'll be two different types of people who'll be one or the other.
There will also be no blackjack, but there will likely be hookers, maybe. Pending.
Wait, what?
No.
Who?
The pun is as follows: Blackjack is not only a card game, but is also the name.
Oh, I didn't actually understand what he said. I thought he said hoofers. I'm like, wait, what?
Apologies is more of my accent.
Then you said that, and oh, now I get the joke. Another one, how many tracks will be in the game? I love listening to Wasteland Wailers and hope for the many songs. There will be however many there will be.
Probably quite a lot.
There's going to be quite a few. They're planning on having a specific number of hours of music, which might sound like a lot, but you got to remember that is all together.
There's a lot of ambient music, which is quite long.
Yeah, as for the actual radio tracks, we have no specific number on them, but there will be enough.
Quite a few, yeah.
And another question, will the game be moddable? If so, how much? Will modders get some mod kits?
I can answer this. Yeah, with the release of Unity 5, it's actually the situation has changed a bit. I forgot if I mentioned this in the last podcast, but essentially now that Unity 5 is...
You most likely did mention it, I think.
Well, wait, did we have Unity 5 at the time? I can't remember.
I don't think we had Unity 5 at the time, but anyway, now that Unity 5 is out, they've released. Basically everyone can now use asset
bundles.
What are they called? Asset bundles. That's the one. And asset bundles make it really easy for people to make content in the Unity engine, which existing games can use. So making new content pretty much implements itself, as does making your own code for the engine to use, because you can just hotload it with DLLs. So
in other words, in short, yes, the game will be modded. Will we make not mod tools? No, because they're basically already
in Unity. Editing existing content is a bit trickier, but I've got some ideas for that. So TBA.
Yeah, don't hold us on to that, because we want to actually focus on getting the actual game done.
The next thing is, this one has been answered, I can't even count how many times. After we're done with the actual game, will we be making other fanfics into stories, or other fanfics into games and all that other stuff? No. The simple fact
we'll
is
probably
no.
be entirely sick of this project by that time.
Yeah,
by the many years.
We'll probably don't even want to be. We probably won't even want to look at the story anymore. Drag will look over onto his bookshelf and see the books just sitting there on their shelves, and he'll cringe every time he sees them. He'll be like, ew.
And for those of you guys who don't know Drag, those are basically his prized possessions right now.
He has a little candle next to it, and he lights it every night before bed.
Yeah, and by the end of this project, I will be too scared to actually close the lights while they are in the same room.
Yeah, so needless to say, no, we will not be making side stories. Quite frankly, we'll probably be making our own games with cool features and cool things.
So, does that look like all the questions?
pretty much. At least the only ones that mattered.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with that, thank you for everyone who listened through all of that. And like we will look forward to seeing you in all of the cons and otherwise as well, and hearing your thoughts on the posted demo and our posters that we're gonna be selling and anything that comes to your mind.